Peace, peace. It's the Autogenous one. And I'm just gonna do another video like usual. Live stream still now. Google or YouTube haven't responded to me yet, so I mean it is what it is. But research continue as usual. Alright? I was watching this interesting video here, alright, with Dr. Ben and this gentleman right here from the Caribbean, alright? Now check the conversation that they having. Alright, so they come, I'm gonna put you right in the middle of where they was at.
You see this as proof of the presence of Africans in America before?
That is the head of an Olmec, and the Olmecs were said to be the first of the indigenous Americans. And if an Olmec walked in here, then you would believe that he had come from the middle of Africa. And there is no doubt about it that all of the writers prior to racism admitted that the Olmecs were in fact Africans who had come across here. There is no doubt when Pigafetta and others, the point is that Van Sertima is writing and others, but Leo Wehner in 1938 at Harvard University wrote a 2-volume book for which he was fired about the Africans, Olmecs being Africans. And
let me bounce this off of you, okay? You take the same statue. You say, well, you say that they're obviously black features, thick lips, broad nose.
The stereotype.
But, okay, the stereotype. Other anthropologists say, I think Michael Cole was one of them. He says that this is not a black man. He said the people who made these statues, which I understand are 8 feet high, the people who made these statues didn't have sharp enough tools to give them white features, so they're not really black statues. They're white people carved with crude tools. What's your response to that?
It's strange that the tools were not sharp enough to make narrow noses, but it was sharp enough to put eyelids. So it would seem to me that an eyelid is harder to make than a thin nose. But Michael Cole is no less a racist than the head of the Ku Klux Klan. I mean, what's the difference between Michael Cole Reagan and the Ku Klux Klan? It have the same philosophy. What is the difference between the fellows writing the Bible and write about the Queen of Sheba saying to Solomon, look not, ye daughters of Canaan, look not upon me because I'm black. My parents sent me in the vineyard and that's all this nonsense. She's black because nature made her black. Her mother and father were black. That's why she's black. Had nothing to do about going in any vineyard, even though it's in the Bible.
Okay, you talked about religion. We're going to get to that in a while. Let me turn to Dr. Simmons. You also agreed with this position that Africans were in this...
I have no problem, no doubt.
Why?
As a matter of fact, speaking about, like Dr. Ben mentioned...
Now listen to what he says. He's going to go further into it than Dr. Ben. And he's from the Caribbean. Now listen to what he says.
You spoke about Michael Nico. I own a book several years ago and still have it in my possession by Michael Nico himself, who is considered one of America's leading archaeologists and anthropologists from Yale, one of America's most prestigious schools. In his own work, he referred to them as Negroid. And he went further to state the title of the book is America's First Civilization, what you call civilization. And to turn around and to tell these youngsters and other people in America in particular that the black men were the first to build any type of civilization in the Americas will be disturbing to Americans. And so...
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Even if you're right, let's say you're right, what difference does it make?
It makes a lot of difference.
What kind of difference?
It takes the inferiority complex out of the black man who felt that his only beginning and relationship here in this part of the world is that of slavery. Then it puts him in the driver's seat because, again, they don't tell you that there are man-made hills within the United States. They call them mounds. And they range from in the Midwest all the way down the eastern seacoast of the United States. And they have found artifacts in them that are similar to things found in West Africa and in Egypt, which is Northeast Africa, that predates the arrival of the so-called indigenous Indians to these lands. Another thing is some years ago, one of the major television networks back in New York, I don't remember exactly which one, ABC or which, had did a documentary. And they said that these Olmecs are the ones who brought right into the Americas about 3000 BC. To tell blacks that they ought to be glad to enter into these schools of higher learning today in order to read and write because their ancestors back in Africa couldn't read and write. You see what it will do to tell them that they brought right into the Americas? Antonio Pigafetta, that Dr. Ben mentioned, who sailed with Magellan when Magellan came to the so-called New World in 1519.
They get your source right there, too. They got another source. Watch what he says now. All right, I think he said Antonio, let me see.
Came to the so-called New World in 1519 when they landed at the land of Verzin, which see what it will do to tell them that they brought right into the Americas. Antonio Pigafetta, that Dr. Ben mentioned, who sailed with Magellan when Magellan came to the so-called New World in 1519 when they landed at the land of Verzin, which we now call Brazil. They were met by people in canoes that carried as many as 40 people. And Antonio Pigafetta recorded that these people were jet black. It seemed that they came out of the infernal marshes. That meant that they were burned. He said, naked and black as they are, in 1519, 27 years after Columbus's arrival to the so-called New World. Another thing they don't tell you, again, you heard my associate...
Well, why haven't we heard these things before? Why don't we read them in the New York Times, the Birmingham News?
If I stole another man's country, and I brought your ancestors here to work for me, could I tell you how great your ancestors were and still expect to keep you in slavery?
Well, let me...
See, he didn't even say it correctly. And Dr. Ben about to take it off the tune. He about to take you back to Africa. Now, all right, so, see, the problem is this, right? They're not telling you whether or not these people or these melanated people, all right, let's say they are correct. Let's say people did travel away from Africa, which I don't believe, because I've seen archaeologists that take people back to the millions of years here in America. All right, so somebody was here. All right, and then you got all the paleontologists and anthropologists saying that it was the first Americans look like Africans, Australians, and South Pacific Islanders. All right, so Dr. Ben knew it was already black people here pre-slavery, but they always trying to allude to the fact that, all right, so he just said that the people in Brazil was already here, right? So they killed all the people there, and then what, Africans there? I mean, come on, man. Like, I mean, look, and then, look, check this out. Let me see something. Let me go here. I'm gonna open something up. Check this out. When did African slaves, watch this, come to Brazil? Watch this. Now check this shit out. It's saying 1888, an estimated 4 million slaves have been imported from Africa to Brazil. It's a 40% of the total number of slaves brought to America. So they saying that 40, and this is just not even a real search. Let me see if I can find something a little bit more. Let me see this one right here. Let's see this one since it's from Brown University. Now check this shit out right here. Look, now check this shit out. Now check this, hold up, let me see something. Let me click on this. Look, they're saying that these are African slaves. That's what they saying. They saying these are African slaves in Brazil. This is Brazil already. So they saying that these are African slaves. Look at them. They look the same way the people over here look. All right, now check this out. I ain't even going to read into this because I already see it's some bullshit. It's in the images of European arrival in Africa painted by French painter Louis Furet between 1787 and 1809 shows a much more positive image of contact with the Boncoquan Bon Quoqua, it said counting. It said African bring exotic animals and fruits to the arrival Europeans. There is no indication of warfare or captivity. All right, so that's bullshit. This is them coming to the Americas right here. All right, hold on. This is not. Let me see something. This is. I want to just find a date on this shit. All right, let me find a date on it. It's not giving me no date. Let me see. Boy. Alright, here we go. I got something right here. Now, I already showed you other proof with the other article that shows you that the people in Brazil was being taken back and forth to the to Spain and Portugal. All right, but this is what they telling you. All right, let me see. All right, so check this out. It said, although the Portugal, see, look, I ain't gotta find you empirical data, because most of this stuff is lined up to be all around the same time. If you want to Google it, it's going to tell you it's going to be around the 1500s. So I ain't got to really do real crazy research with this, because I'm just trying to just paint a line to around the time where old boy just said, he said in 1519, they came and it was already black people there. Okay, now they're going to try to make the picture that, oh, they bought them there. That shit that just doesn't make sense. Just like the Maroon story just really didn't make sense to me until after further noticing that they was already there. With the archaeology proof, with them telling you it was Olmecs here, so them people just came and left. And that's the whole thing. When no one is admitting, they telling you that, and then the whole thing of it is that they have to be Africans. Now, we already agreed on the term Africa wasn't invented until the 1600s. So why they keep on continuing to use that word, even knowing that a lot of Africans don't consider that they Africans. In America, yes, they do, but in their country, they don't. Okay, so now let me read a little bit of it. It says, although the Portuguese, let me open the font up a little bit. It says, although the Portuguese arrived in Brazil in 1500s, it took a half a century for them to establish an economic Portugal and other dominions in Africa. See, in Asia, it say we're more profitable and garner more attention. The crown only established a strict bureaucracy in 1549. It say to fight off the French and the British. See, they was warring. See, the British I can't get that word out right now. Sorry, y'all. Into Brazil. So the French and British were trying to get into Brazil. It say, but by the mid 1500s, sugar plantations began to spring in the northeast, where sugar grew well. The colonists looked to the Indians to provide the necessary workforce for the labor-intensive crops. Now, what I just tell you right there, all right? It say, however, now, this is when they start lying in history, all right? They want to somehow tell you that the few people that, I don't even believe they brought anybody here. I believe that the people that they brought here, they already took to different parts of the world and brought them back here, all right? They say, however, the enslaved Indians quickly fell victim to European diseases, right? So look, so how did the Indians die to the European diseases, but the Africans didn't? And they was able to make it through this crazy ass journey, and them being tied up and being defecated, urinated, and people having their menstrual cycles, and they being starved. And yo, come on, man. So the Indians couldn't make it, but the Africans made it through this shit. This is the idiocy that I see people, and when people just keep on pushing. All right, well, boom, the people that been here for thousands of years are Americans. Stop saying that they Africans, because they don't want to say that they're Americans. I don't know for some reason why. I don't know why, but they just don't want to say that they're Americans. They want to still give you that mind that, okay, these people came from Africa, so it wasn't nobody here, so these people are always going to be Africans. And anybody with any common sense can understand that. All right, so boom. So it's saying, however, the enslaved Indians quickly fell victim to European diseases. It's saying, and fled to unnavigated territory of the country. It say and fled to unnavigated territory in the country, okay? Who else story is like that? The Maroons, okay? Unnavigated territory, interior. All right, so that means it say of the country. So that means they went deep into the country where they could not go. It say the Portuguese decided that the Indians were too fragile for the plantation labor, and having been active in the Atlantic slave trade since the 1450s, they began to import Africans. Soon, the slave plantation system became extremely dependent on the African slave labor. African slaves was brought into Brazil as early as 1530. Now, he just said in 1519 that they said that it was motherfuckers on canoes and these niggas is black. Okay, so you telling me, and so all right, never mind the black Indians that was here already. Let's only focus on the so-called Africans that they telling you that they bringing here. All right, it say by 1530. It say with the violation in 1888. All right, say during 3 centuries, Brazil received 4 million Africans, over 4 times as many of other American destinations. All right, so just keep that in mind. All right. Now remember, what did this guy say? What did he say? Let me see.
If I stole another man's country and I brought your ancestors here to work for me, could I tell you how great your ancestors were and still expect to keep you in slavery?
Well, let me give you a better, not better necessarily, but an added situation of that. Most black people in Birmingham, Alabama, like in Harlem, New York, are Christians, and they go to
There are, in 1519,
right
27 years of the infernal marshes. That meant that they were burned. He said, naked and black as they are, in 1519, 27 years after Columbus's arrival to the so-called New World. Another thing they don't tell you, again, you heard my associate...
Well, why haven't we heard these things before? Why don't we read them in the New York Times, the Birmingham News?
Now, he said 1519. This shit right here says 1530. They started bringing people that looked just like the people who was already there. Now, we already seen other information of slaves, slaves to Spain, or Seville, slaves brought to Seville, Spain. We already seen that they was bringing people from here over there. So they just want you to believe that all the so-called people of the areas, the enslaved Indians, quickly fell victim to the European diseases and fled to an unnavigated interior of the country. That sound like the fucking Maroons, all right? So now check this out. Let me put you on something else that I was looking at, all right? Yeah, I was checking out Dr. Umar views on Black Panther. All right, boom. We back here again, y'all. We gotta come back here again. All right, so we back here. We're on slavevoid.org. All right, because this is their database, okay? So let's see something. So embark. Let me see something. Let me see disembark. And this right here, this I didn't even see it say Pacific disembarkation regions. All right, so you see board distance. Let me see what this one says. All right, so boom. So there you go. So Africa, look. So now you see total. All right, so Europe, North America. Now this say North America. This say mainland North America. All right. So this say 388,746. This British Caribbean is saying 2.3 million. French Caribbean 1 point something million. Dutch Americas and so forth. Spanish, Brazil, total. All right. So they saying the total is 10 million, right? All right. So let me see something. Let's go back here. Nah, you know what? Let me see. Right Because what this is, all this is the people that was taken from the Americas to other parts of the world. Because why is it not showing you where they got on at? Now watch this. Now watch when I go to Embark. Only Embark. Now look. Why don't the Embark show where they got on at? Why do it still show where they... Alright, so boom, here we go. Now look. Alright, so this is what they saying right here, right? This is how they trying to make up the 12 million. Now, at first, I never seen this right here. Alright, but now I do see it, alright? So, some things I'm going to probably have to go back on what I said, but overall, I'm not changing nothing. These are people that came from the Americas, alright? These, because, like, look at this right here. Alright, so let's take, for example, alright? Let's take, for example, the people right here in Sierra Leone, right? Now, I say from 1801 to the 1900s, right? Now, the problem with this is we know people from Sierra Leone came from the Americas. We already know that. Now, look, how can we prove that? Check this out. Nova Scotia, I think it was Nova Scotia sent to Sierra Leone. Yeah, hold up. I did some videos on this already. I'm looking for that article because there's some people who showing them. All right, hold up. Let me see something. Maybe I can find it the other way. No, hold up this way. Let me see. Alright, so now look, I'm just gonna look for a basic one. I ain't even gonna really go crazy with this, alright? So now look. Oh, matter of fact, this is the one I was reading from before, alright? So it say the Maroons were escaped slaves, alright? Now look, check this shit out, right? Now check this shit out. This is how your boy do his research. The Maroons were escaped slaves. They ran away from the Spanish and say owned plantations, alright? Now check this shit out, right? Now what did this tell you? What did this tell you? Where was I? It say, alright. It say the colonists looked to the Indians. It say, no, alright, hold up. Where was we at? Alright, my bad, right. Alright, here we go. Yeah, the colonists looked to the Indians to provide a necessary workforce for the labor-intensive crops. However, the enslaved Indians quickly fell victim to European diseases and fled to an unnavigated interior of the country. It say Portuguese decided that the Indians were too fragile for the plantation. All right, so boom. So now this is telling you Indian what? Indian slaves, right? Now we go right here. Maroons were escaped slaves. Now, anytime you hear this word slave, you're automatically programmed to think that they Africans. But they tell you that the people of the land they enslaved, okay? And then also with the note that they're already telling you that's black people here. Where the fuck did all these black people go? Okay? Now, I'm going to show you something else in a minute, all right? So now we're going to go right back here real quick. All right, so look, this is the estimates, all right? So now let's go to something real quick. All right, Embark. Disembark region. All right, so let's go ahead. Disembark. Let me see. Say only disembark. So let's go this one right here. We're gonna go to North America, where we from. All right. Now, all right, North American, mainland's North America, right? Now it's saying 15 to 1600s, right? It's saying they ain't bring none. It's saying from 1600 to 17, they bought 15,000. And then when you get to 1700s, they bought almost such and such. All right, so now you see the ending is 388,746, right? So now what you do is this. Now you want to start finding out how many people was here in the Americas, right? Let's check this out. Well, I'm going to show you a couple different sources, as usual, just to get you a speculation so you can understand, all right? So this is... Disembark. Oh, so they always showing these. All right, so this is Native American culture, right? All right, so let's say we read this before. Many years before Christopher Columbus ship landed in Bahamas, a different group of people discovered America. It's saying the nomadic ancestors of modern Native American, which we already know that's a fucking lie. I mean, but I'm just using it for something. Or say land bridge, Asia, what is now Alaska, more than 12,000 years ago. Saying, in fact, by the time European adventurers arrived in the 15th century AD, scholars estimate that more than 50 million people were already living in the Americas. All right, so now it was 50 million people already right here. Right now, this is just something for people who do research. All right, now look. It says most scholars break North America, including present-day Mexico, into 10 separate cultural areas: the Arctic, subarctic, northeast, and southeast. This is where we're from. This is where you concentrate at. Okay, we can concentrate on California, and we can concentrate on parts of the Southwest, but mainly right here, we concentrate on where they came at, where the 13 colonies was at. Okay, because the 13 colonies was the one that was shipping the Indian slaves out, as well as they was the ones that was getting slaves from the Indians that conquered the other tribes. Okay, so now look, northeast, southeast. This is what we want to deal with right here. All right, so now boom, that's one person told you that, right? Now let me see something else. Let me see. Let me see. All right, so we're gonna go here real quick. Is that it? No, that ain't it. Hold up. Let me see something real quick. Is it? It's not that one. I think it's this one. Is it this one? Alright, let me see something. It is this one. Alright, boom. Alright, so check this out. Now, I'm just trying to show y'all the population of people that was already here. I got another one that breaks it down a little bit more better, alright? So look, it say Native American populations of the Americas in 1492. All right, so here go the book, edition, editor. All right, what up? They say, how many people inhabit the New World when Columbus landed on Hispaniola? It said 1492. It said, how did the arrival of Europeans spark the population decline of the Aborigine people in the New World? Why don't the natives call themselves Aborigines anymore? Because they can't use that word. All right, so the discoveries of America was followed by possible the greatest demographic disaster in the history of the world. Researchers by some scholars provide population estimates of the pre-contact Americas to be as high as 112 million in 1492, while others estimate the population have been as low as 8 million. Now, they said it was 8 million people alone in the island of Hispaniola. It said, in any case, the native population declined to less than 6 million by 1650. All right, now check this out. Now, they saying by 1650. How would they know? Now, all right, let's think of it like this. I'm using this to try to give people an understanding that there was a lot of people here. All right, so you have to really meet yourself with a common ground. Okay, 112 million, a lot of people or whatever. The history said 50 million. All right, while they saying that it declined less than 6 million by 1650. Now you got to also take into account this. They didn't do no census in 1650. So we know that this shit right here is not correct. Okay, but I don't know what speculations led him to believe that it was 112 million people. All right. So now I got another article. It's this one right here. Boom. No, hold up. It's not that one. It's this one. Is it this one? All right, here we go. This one. This is a very interesting read right here. All right, so boom. So now it's one of the few certainties the Indian populations of North and South America suffered a catastrophic collapse after 1492. All right, so boom, I kind of got a video reading on some of this stuff right here. You have to really, I'm gonna put this in the link or whatever, but I'm gonna read this right here. All right, say George Catlin say the 19th century artist, when George Catlin came, the motherfucking Aborigines was already Christians at that point in time in the 19th century. All right, so when he came to he came to like in the new Indian reservation where people were sent after the 1830s. All right, so keep that in mind. Okay, whatever took place here, he's way late. Okay, he's in here in the 19th century. Remember, they came here in the 1500s. They just told you 1519, they seen black people here. And then they tell you 1530 is when they brought slaves here. So now just take that into account. That's almost 380 something years. That's 380 something years. All right, 381 years or something like that, or 370 years if you go by 1530. All right, so now that's 370 years later. These people, we no longer had the culture that we had when they first got here. All right, so it's a Catlin, 19th century artist, revered American Indians. It's a numerous and noble race of. It's a numerous and numerous. Well, I would say numerous if it was only the people that look Asian here. All right. Now we know Europeans are not indigenous to here. They somehow got themselves in the bloodline. But nonetheless, though, the people that they consider to be the original Native Americans are Mongoloids, or what we call Asian descent. All right, so it's a numerous and noble race of human beings has called them fast passing to extinction. All right, now the distinct ones are the ones calling themselves African Americans, and we're gonna prove this. It say in the 1830s he traveled among a dozen tribes to paint nearly 600 portraits. Now, he was late. All right, it say, and scenes of Indian life. It say most now hang in the Smithsonian. It say during his visit, the host entrolled the blissful age before the settlers. It say time when the tribes was much larger. It say the Indians of North America, Catlin would speculate in his diary, were 16 million in number, and sent that number of their daily prayers to the Almighty. All right, now he said 16 million. All right, History Channel said 50 million. He said 16 million, and you got some other people up here saying some other numbers. All right, now check this out. Let's go now. All right, so now here we go. These are the people that they show you that was Indians. All right, but we know something else. Let's go right here. Show you something real quick. We'll go right here, see what the people looked like in Virginia, okay? Just to give people who just got here, you know what I'm saying, who ain't, you know what I'm saying? Let me see, all right, like Indians. All right, so these are all images of American Indians, all right? These are all images, all right? All right, these are all images. Let me see something. Now, I ain't really got to go into it too much, man. We already know. Now, look. South America. Maya. Look. Look at this motherfucker right here. Alright, so we ain't really got to go too far into it, man. Y'all already know. Like, y'all already seen the images 100 times over. America. Alright, it's also an image from America. Anytime you see them smoking, this is here in America. Don't never forget that. Alright, let me see this. Alright, just to give you an image. What happened to these Indians? Now, they want to show you images and drawings of some shit from the 1900s. But what happened to these Indians right here? This is an Indian right here, alright? You forget what you wanted. Alright? It's an Indian. Alright? What happened to these Indians? Crickets, right? We know. Alright? Look, Virginia, alright? So now, this is Virginia. He got a tobacco skirt on, okay? The same thing. Look, he got a tobacco skirt on, alright? So, let's see if we can find, look, tobacco. Oh, shit. They got more tobacco. Look. 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 See this? See this? This is the same person without his feather crown on, okay? Look. This says American, okay? This is a motherfucking black man. With these senses right here, look, with these senses right here, that's a black man, all right? We got to go back into all this, see? And you got to always have this stuff pulled up because people are stupid, all right? So now look. We already showed you that they had Indians as slaves, okay? We know that out of every 10 slaves, 9 of them was Indians, okay? All right, so now that image I just showed you, I haven't showed that one in a while, but I don't care what it says. Australianoid, I don't care what it says. My man says that says Southerner. So that shit is not saying that they Australian. United States race, 1790 to 1990. Okay, so all right. So I show this one a lot. All right. It says total population: white, black, American Indian. Now it says American Indian, Eskimo. I don't know what this stands for. Asians and Pacific Islanders. All right. So you see the census. These people are here the whole time, right? But wait a minute. When you get right here, in the 1860s, 1850s, you don't see no fucking Indians, but you do see blacks in large numbers. You see them in large numbers. Now, they trying to tell you from 1790 that they jumped up because these are the people that they started counting as they was going forward. Okay, but understand this, right? If we had to show you this image right here, right? What is he classified as? If we had to go with Walter Plecker and these racist ass motherfuckers and their statuses, what was he classified as on here? You tell me. You tell me. What was he classified as on here? Okay, was he classified? Because remember, look, 1790, first census right here. You see no fucking Indians here, okay? You see no Indians, okay? So where the fuck did they go? Because the original Indians are right here. They're right here. And like I said, what is he classified as? Now, when I showed you the other image, check this one out. All right, boom. Look, this is him without his. This is the same Indian I just showed you right there. Oh, damn! I got off of it. My bad, y'all. All right, my bad. But you get the picture. Y'all get it already. You already know. All right. So them the same Indians, man. Just like him right here. Same person right here. He ain't got nothing covered up because he ain't got that grass skirt on, but he still got that same feather crown like you see Power Hudson wearing. Look, right here, same thing. He got the same grass skirt on. And it just go on and on and on. This ain't not. This is not. It's not us right there. Show you this shit right here. These long houses. All right. Little images right there. So y'all already done seen the images. The imagery already. So, but back to here. All right. No, where was we at? Was it this one? All right. So back to here. So we don't know where these people came from. These people was the ones that was found later on. All right. So boom. Here we go. Now, let me show you something. Let me see some. Hold up for a second. Now, you got to read this, man, because he got some strange way of how he came up with this theory of how many people he thought was here. Now, all right, I'm going to introduce you to the two researchers. All right, so you got right here, you got the Americas of 1492. It say nearly all scholars estimate of the New World, say 1492 population fell between the count of two anthropologists. Now I say we fell between the count of two anthropologists. Alfred Korber, it say 1937 estimates of 8.4 million, and Henry Dobbins, it say in 1966 estimate of 112 million. All right, so he said 112 million people. All right, so now he's giving you an estimate right here, right? Now check this out. He's giving you an estimate right here. He's saying right here, this is north, south, east right here, okay? This is north, this is down south right here, all right? Down south in Florida area, okay? So if you look, low estimate will be dark, high estimates will be light. So the high estimates right here, he's saying was 37 million people alone right here, right? So now when you go back here, how many people was brought to the Americas here? 387,000 people. 387,000 people. You want me to rest my case? Do you? All right, so they tell you right here, Midland, North America, they bought 387,000, right? So they telling you right here. Now we can estimate that it was. We could say it was half of that. All right, we could say it was half. Matter of fact, you know what? We ain't even got to say it was half that. We could say it was 5 million people right there. Okay, so 5 million people plus 388,746 people. All right. That doesn't make you African, even if these people did come from Africa. This small percentage right here doesn't make you African, because if it was, like I said, if you even have a half a fucking brain, you can understand what the fuck I'm telling you. If they estimate that it was 37,500,000 people right here, and it was 13,500,000 people right here. And this is like closer to like Louisiana. So right here in this area right here, look, right here in this area right here alone, it was 50 million people, right? Now, I'm just speculating. But for this guy right here, who's an anthropologist, he had to derive this from somewhere. But it's right here. I don't feel like going over this. Let me see something right here. Let me see. Alright, you know what? I'm going to have to read this, because I'm going to have to show you guys. Alright, so boom. So let me get with this. Alright, so just bear with me. I'm going to try to read this quick. I'll go pick my daughter up from school. Alright, so it says North and South America. It say with a mapping device called a panometer. It's a measure of various cultures, areas assigned each a population density for eastern United States. Say he averaged fewer than one person per square mile for many regions below the Rio Grande. It say the land of the Incas and Aztecs. It's saying and other that's obviously been, has been more, much more popularized. It say he assigned much higher densities. He multiplied the densities by the square miles in each region and concluded that 8.4 million people inhabited the Americas in 1492. It say they was neatly divided, 4.2 million in North America and 4.2 million in South America and the Caribbean. Now, you guys really believe that? All right. So the canoe count. No one since Kuber has made an estimate so low. It say in the past 40 years, scholars have shifted through thousands of volumes from the 16th century, Spanish reports of baptism, marriages, and tax collections, in Mexico, to 17th century account of epidemics in New England, where the data failed to provide a direct answer and expert devised ingenious ways to draw inferences from them. Explorer, for instance, rarely estimated total population. They tended to report only on the number of warriors. Scholars now multiply the warrior count by the correction factor, such as 5, to come up with a total that includes women, children, and old men. Multiples likewise are applied to baptism, Indians, buildings, even including the acres of beans and corn. Archaeology sites containing hemp and oyster shells. It say have been used to estimate how many oysters were eaten. It say and thus how many Indians ate them. It say by the 1600s, scholars were concluded that just one spot, Central Mexico, it say once had 3 times as many Indians as Kuber has estimated. It say in the whole hemisphere, the highest estimate ever made in 1966 was supported by the proactive theory. Anthropologist Henry Dobbins. Now y'all look him up, all right? It say argued that the disease reduced the Indian population by 95%. It say or more throughout the hemisphere. Depopulation ratio. All right, so it say that he said has commonly. Now think about it like this, right? Now I'm telling you different scenarios, right? But think about it like this, right? If they killed the Indian population because of the diseases, why didn't the Africans die? Because the Africans' immune system would have already been weakened after that fucking ship, and them being in that fucking that fucking pool of bacteria with urinal defecation and menstrual cycle and people probably throwing up and all other types of shit. So with all that being said, that their immune system probably was already weakened, plus it probably was already diseases from the Europeans on it. So they was able to overcome these diseases, and the people wasn't? Really? All right, so now let's get to this, all right? I'm going to get to this and I'm going to close it out. All right, it say occurred even in modern times when epidemics strike people with no immunity. It say Dobbin took Indian population at the Nada, it say the lowest level, and multiplied the numbers by 20 or 25. It say in America above the Rio Grande, for instance, the Indian population hit the bottom early in the century. It say the census figure reported 490,000 by Dobbin's calculation. That means between 9.8 million and 12.2 million Indians once inhabited what now the United States and Canada for the hemisphere. He estimated a 1492 population of 90 million, and say to 112. It say 112.5 million. It say critics suspect Dobbins assumed too much. Epidemics. It say I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little tired. All right. It say they say were probably not as frequent or lethal. They say as he claimed. Dobbin, who retired without revising his count, agreed that his method is simplistic. It say he proposed it for lack of something better. He says the localized studies, if thorough, can be more accurate. It say a colleague on the scene research in Peru, for instance. It say conceived Doblin that the Inca Empire estimated that 30 million to 37 million Indians were perhaps 20 million to high. Now that's right there. He said that's in Peru by itself. It say but in the 31 years since his current anthropology article, Dobbins has measured other regional populations with tools that other scholars use: warrior count, food availability, it say, and the like, and fairly consistently. It say found that his 1966 assumptions were too low. It say he now believed that Florida, it say in 1492, had perhaps 700,000 Indians, several times of what he concluded in 1966. His article estimate the Caribbean 1492 population at 500,000. Say he now agrees with other scholars that it was 5 million or more. How close will scholars ever come to the real number? A recent effort by the geographer William Denevon, he say, to reconcile the many conflicting estimates by using the best found in various scholars, conclude that 54 million people inhabit the Americas. Now that's closer to what the History Channel would say inhabit the Americas. All right, it say in 1492, including 3.8 million above the Rio Grande. They say, but how meaningful such numbers is now. Check this out and remember this, right? This number that he's telling you is not done out there in the Midwest. This shit right here is being conducted from from the Caribbean and right here in the Southeast and Northeast. This is not even being done in the middle of the Americas. All of this right here is being conducted right here in the Northeast, Southeast, all right? So, because he said clams. There's no clams in the fucking desert. Now, we know none of them Mongoloids eat no clams, because it's no clams in the damn desert, all right? So, now he's saying, all right, so boom, where we at? All right, we right here, all right? So, it say such numbers is the question. It say, with decades of careful research, historian Woodrow Burrell once predicted scholars eventually may produce a estimate with a margin of error of 30 to 50%. If I had to pick the most unanswerable question in the world to get into heaven, that would be a good choice, says David Hinge. It's a historian at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and author of the forthcoming book Numbers from Everywhere. They say it is absolutely impossible to answer. All right, now check this out. I'm gonna give you my conclusion when I get done with this. I say have written tens of thousands of pages on. Say even if the absolute total is forever unknowable, it say there are other numbers that tells a hunt and tell. Say in the 1960s, a Berkeley geographic. It say Carl Sewer cited evidence of the 1496 census that Columbus' brother Bartholomew ordered for tax purpose on Hispaniola. Say now Haiti, say and the Dominican Republic, say the Spanish counted 1.1 million Indians. Since that sum covered only the Hispaniolas, it say Spanish controlled half and included children. It say Seward concluded that 3 million Indians once inhabited the island, but a generation after 1492, a Spanish resident reported that Hispaniola Indian population had shrunk below 11,000. Now check this out. All right. Now I say the island collapse was only a preview. By 1650 records suggests that only 6 million Indians remain in all of. Now that's the 1650. Now check this out. That's the 1650. If them people did not die off by that time, them people were still there. So they came there in 1490. They say, hold up. They say the island collapse was only a preview. It say by 1650 records suggest that only 6 million Indians remained in all of the North America, South America, and the Caribbean. Subtracted 6 million from even a conservative estimate of the 1492 population, like Donovan census counted 54 million, and once dreadful conclusion that the inescapable 150 years after Columbus' arrival brought a toll on human life in the hemisphere comparable to all the world's losses in World War II. All right, so and you have it. They inconclusive with it, but we see the highest number that he got, right? The highest number that he got was this. Right here, where we from, where our family is from, is almost 52 million people here. All right. Now, let's say if it was 52 million, you think all these people died off with, and where are these bodies buried at? And if them people died off like that, they would have to be buried, okay? Because people just wouldn't be dying and they wouldn't be leaving, because that would cause other bacteria, and that will form other diseases, okay? So where do these people be? It's kind of strange that the shit or the diseases that once inhabited the aborigines of this land, now you have to get vaccinations for. So obviously these people outgrew the disease. That shit couldn't be killing people, because like I said, it's just some confusing things going on here. Maybe some people in my comment, I mean, you can probably put some of this stuff together. I'm kind of rushing this broadly, but still painting the same picture that it was already blacks here before any so-called African slaves. And they telling you that right here, where most of our people was southeast, northeast, that it was 52 million. Now that's speculation, but let's say if it was 10 million. Let's say right here if it was 10 million, okay? 10 million people with 388,000 people that mixed in, what would that make you more of? And then also take into account of this, right? This is what they telling you the Indians looked it like. All right? They telling you they looked it like this, all right? So now you have to start going, now you got to go back to the lab and you got to ask yourself some questions, all right? Because, you know, they still got these little afros. Look. They still got these little afros, all right? So you have to go back and conclude yourself. But what I'm showing you right here is facts, all right? And then also take in consideration right here, right? They telling you it was almost 50 million people here, all right? Now, let's say if diseases did kill some of them more. But even at this time, the reason why... Now, let me see something real quick. Check this out. Let me see, all right? Now, you see the numbers kind of stay the same. You see this right here, right? The numbers stay the same from 1960 until 1990. It only jumped up by fucking... It only jumped up by 11 million from 1960. And then you go ahead, 1950. So from 1950 to 1960. Like I said, these numbers are not correct at all. And this is a Hispanic population right here. This is a Hispanic population. So The Hispanic population jumped up from 9 million to 14 million, and then so on and so on. All right, so that's irrelevant to what I'm saying right here. But when I'm saying that, if these people came here, and there was 37 million people here, and all these people died as a result of the Europeans coming in contact with them, that'll tell you a story right there. So you understand? And anybody who reading that shit should feel guilty. Like, damn, it was 137 million people here. Or he said it was 12 million people here. So 12 million people disappeared since the Europeans came here. That's something to really look into. Really, I mean, that's something that's like real. Like, I mean, that's a genocide in itself. So with that being said, man, I showed you the numbers, man. You come to some conclusion, and you know what I'm saying. You know, whatever you think. I already know what I think at this point in time, and I ain't even proving. I'm just putting more research out there. I'm not even trying to prove to nobody. We know damn well this ain't no motherfucking mongoloids, all right? These ain't no mongoloids right here, all right? They're not no mongoloids, all right? So we need to stop lying to ourselves. This ain't no mongoloid, okay? It's not a mongoloid, all right? So this ain't no mongoloid, okay? So you got to really start asking yourself, man, look, this is Virginia right here. This is not no mongoloid, all right? It's not no mongoloid, all right? He got the same thing on everybody else wearing. Same feather. He just don't have his feather crown on, okay? So with that being said, this is the time from this one. Comment, like, subscribe. Peace to the Aborigines.